Matthew Crane. I'm the Vicar for Canonical Affairs for the Diocese of St. Cloud. I also, however, am the chaplain to the Poor Clares in Sauk Rapids, and they're very jealous of me in that role. So I would ask all of you, if you run into any of the Poor Clares in Sauk Rapids, please tell them I introduced myself as chaplain of the Poor Clares. Decrees, if I may clarify just slightly what Brenda said, decrees will be coming out with increasing speed over the next 2 months. We have prioritized particular ACCs that need to try to affect or figure out the details of what affecting a canonical merger will mean at a sooner period of time than others. And some of these later ones will be such simple mergers that they're just kind of boilerplate, I have to admit. So those decrees will be shifted down to the bottom of the pile. The decrees will be public documents that will give a fairly detailed summary of both the enactment of the merger, but also some of the various details that will go into that as far as organizing the newly merged parish. They will be notified to the parishes through a number of means, public announcements at weekend masses, distribution of hard copies through the parish buildings and offices, but also online. Even right now, if you check on the St. Cloud Diocese website, there's an All Things New page. Just watch that. Developments pretty much as fast as they come in the department of putting out details about the mergers will be on that page. If you go to that page right now, you can find information about what we're loosely dubbing the appeals process. Whenever in canon law an executive decision is made at whatever level, there's a mechanism of hierarchical recourse that follows a particular procedure that's laid out in the last book of the code, the seventh book, that deals with procedures for everything under the sun. It's actually relatively simple. When we say hierarchical recourse, what we're talking about is simply going to the superior of the individual who made the decision and saying, I have a grievance with this particular decision. So I'd like you, as this individual's superior, to look at it. And the superior has a number of options. They can simply affirm the decision, they can completely overturn it, they can reform it partially. So how this is done, in the case of a decree that comes from the diocesan bishop, is a little bit special. So I just want to fill you in on that in particular so you have those details as we march forward as a diocese through this process. If a decree is issued by the diocesan bishop and you have a grievance with it, in whole or in part, so you can agree with the gist of the decision or a portion of the gist of the decision, but quibble with some detail that's within it as well, and seek to have that particular detail reformed. That's okay. If you are in that situation, you need to file a petition with the diocesan bishop who issued the decree within 10 canonical days, just your working days. Okay? You need to file it within 10 working days. Now, for any particular decree that we're issuing as a part of this process, one of the things that I'm going to do to try to ease the appeals process is in the very last article of each decree, just above the signature, there will be another description of how to do this, but it will list for that decree a particular date based on the date of notification, where we want you to get the petition in by close of business on that particular day. Get it into the bishop. To do that, submit it to the chancery in St. Cloud. So you'll have that guideline. If you're thinking of how to figure out the working days, don't worry, we'll tell you right in the decree. Here's the date that you need to know and get a petition in. Once that petition is submitted, the diocesan bishop has 30 days in which to contemplate some sort of a response to this. And he can do a number of things. He can say, nope, I affirm my initial decision. He can say, I hear what you're saying, and I will return it, or revoke the entire thing. Or he may invite you into some sort of a dialogue, either with him directly or through a representative, and say, tell me more about this. This is a different proposal from what I've seen so far. I am interested in this. What modifications could I make to my initial decree in order to make this work a little bit more, make you less aggrieved, but still achieve the goals that I'm trying to achieve? He can also just say nothing for 30 days. If either he gives a response that you find unfavorable, or he just sits on it for 30 days, then you have the opportunity, then you have the opportunities to go to his hierarchical superior. That can be done by simply, essentially, resubmitting your petition as is, or you can add further details to it, say here was the communication that I had, and here's why I'm still unsatisfied. And you can submit that again to the diocesan bishop, and he's obliged by law to submit it to his hierarchical superior, which is the Pope in Rome. The Pope isn't going to look at it personally. It's routed to the particular office of the Roman Curia that deals with the question contained in the petition. If it's a question of a parish modification or alteration, that goes to the dicastery for clergy, right? So that you can submit it directly to the dicastery for clergy if you wish, but the easiest way to do it, especially not incurring any sort of significant postal fees of sending something to Rome, is to send it to the diocesan bishop, and then he's obliged to immediately transfer that to Rome. And we do get to use the various Vatican diplomatic means of communication, so we can do that relatively expeditiously. So that's my recommendation as to the way to advance the petition to the hierarchical superior of the diocesan bishop. At that point, according to canon law, there's an obligation for Rome to respond, for the hierarchical superior, in this case Rome, to respond within 3 months. In practice, they get a lot of mail, as you might imagine, when you're the one clearinghouse for the whole Catholic world. So really, the turnaround time is often more like a year before a final decision is handed down. So, we always try when we're handling these through the Chancery Office in St. Cloud to keep you informed about the steps that we've taken. So, for instance, you'll get a note saying, we submitted it, but then don't start to doubt or grow concerned if nothing happens after 3 months, because that's quite typical at this point in praxis. It usually takes more like a year. The hierarchical superior then can do, as I said before, any of those basic 3 steps. They can either affirm the decision of the lower authority, they can modify it, or they can overturn it entirely based on the petition that's received. It's a relatively simple process. It is one that I think is quite effective, at least as I've seen it utilized in my practice of canon law. It provokes the sort of dialogue and conversation which is necessary to good governance. If I can take a moment to put a little editorial comment in here, I will say one of the more frustrating things about it, I think, at multiple levels, and that we're trying to mitigate at least at the local level as far as we can, is especially once it goes to Rome, the rationale for the decision can sometimes become rather opaque, in my experience. And so there's that waiting game that I was referring to a moment ago that is somewhat difficult. But aside from that, again, clarifying or picking up rather on something that Brenda had said earlier, I understand that there has been conversation going on and proposals about alternatives to the plan as it has been advanced from the Committee for the Affirmation of Plans to Bishop Miriam. I would encourage hanging on to and refining those, because the place where those will slide into this process then is in this appeals period. If more favorable thoughts have come forward as a result of some of the conversations that are going on, those can be heard out in the form of a petition in that 10-day period following the issuance of the decree. So, yeah, I think that's everything that I wanted to cover on the appeal process, and just watch, I would say, especially the All Things New page, as well as pay attention. There will be clear notifications coming through the parishes as well when the decree is issued for this particular merger in this ACC.
So what I would like to offer at this point is, like I said, we are at a place in this process where we've done some review. It's been through Presbyteral Council, and the next step is really the decrees. And so, I will be sending out information with the diocesan plan, that you should be seeing that very soon. I would like to just pray our prayer together again, and I'm happy to take any questions on an individual basis. So we will just kind of conclude this time, and like I said, I'll stay as long as I need to talk to each other about any additional questions that you might have. So, in the name of the Father, ever-present God,
just as you have come to your brothers and sisters, so to you come to our ancestors, became the sentiments of generations ago, to renew new life, exile members of faith in our churches. Be with us now as we, the people of Diocese of St. Cloud, embark on a new and uncharted journey, heeding your call for renewal and transformation. Send forth your gifts of courage, compassion, trust, and collaboration. Help us to serve in the best ways that we fulfill to missionaries and fellowship, with vibrant communities and effective ministries. Open our hearts to the stirrings of the Holy Spirit, and give us the grace we need for this journey as we make all things new. We ask this through Jesus Christ our Lord, with the intercession of Mary our Mother, and Saint Cloud our patron. Amen.
thank you for coming. I appreciate you taking time on a Sunday afternoon. It's gorgeous on a March day to be with us, so thank you.
I don't think anybody's here. I don't understand this. She's not taking questions.
She has taken, just individually, we can go up and ask. I suppose she don't want to answer in front of everybody, maybe, I don't know. But that was, did she answer any?